5 Fact Friday. What time is it? It's 5 Fact Friday. I can't believe it's Friday already, and it's 5 Fact Friday. Hey everyone, 5 Fact Friday. I have some goodies on here, and yeah, I just want to get started. And I got a question, an aggressive question, by the way, that was like, when are you putting new stuff on your Depop? And easy. I am planning to do a full restock of my Depop. I wanted to do like a soft sale kind of thing because I have some items that I want to list, but I don't have much more time this weekend to do the whole wear them and take the pictures and edit and list. All of this is a process and it takes me a little bit of time, but I know you guys are interested, so I was thinking of just like putting some stuff up where I take a picture of it on a hanger, kind of like a soft sale until I can get around to indexing it and taking the pictures and everything. The only issue is that this next weekend, the Pope is coming to Philadelphia and the city is completely shutting down. I don't know if you remember in some of my old videos, I couldn't film in my room for an entire month because they were tearing up my street in efforts for the Pope, and I got a lot of comments that were like, why would the Pope come to Philadelphia? I don't know. I think it's good news for Philly, except most of us as residents will be a little displaced. It's going to be really hard for us to get around, and I full-heartedly believe if I do a ton of stuff on my Depop in the next couple of days, the Pope coming is going to yield a really intricate delay, I feel like, to whatever process is. We have been told that the weekend that the Pope is here, no one can enter or leave Philadelphia. And I am a little worried because John is leaving that Thursday and coming back that Friday. I'm really worried that he won't be allowed back into the city, and it's keeping me up at night. But with that, I also believe that Post Office, FedEx, USPS, all of these things will be stuck either inside or outside of the city. And you know my motto on Depop, I ship the very next day, so I don't want there to be any discrepancies. So I'm thinking, do kind of like a soft restock, but don't get anybody like really excited about it, because I do believe there will be delays. But one thing I wanted to tell everybody, and I guess this isn't really a question, but I guess it is a fact. The house I used to live in before I moved in with John, which was our living together anniversary, me living in this room anniversary, was a couple weeks ago, so I have lived here for 1 year. My old roommate contacted me and was like, hey bro, you still have stuff in the basement. There had been things in the basement of mine that I didn't even really know were there. I think when my parents moved me into that house so many years ago, my mom must have put a bunch of my stuff in the basement and then was like, all right, see ya, I'm out of here, I don't like your neighborhood, whatever mom. And I forgot all about these things, including the bike that I was hit by a car with. All of these things were down there. So John took me there after school last week, and I opened all these boxes for the first time in years. You may have seen the pictures of my mom that I posted. These are pictures that like even she hasn't seen for so many years. I don't know why I ended up with them, but actually let me grab those. And I did get a comment on one of the pictures that was like, let's see baby Qcknd, like let's see baby Qcknd. And if that's something you want, like I have so many of these pictures. I think my mom, it's crazy to like look at these pictures of your parents and be like, she was my age, or I remember being her age, and all of these things. And like, here's a picture of my mom feeding me, and just like look at, I just think that it's crazy. I think we look alike, and I have so many of these pictures that no one has seen for so many years. I don't know how I ended up with them, but I also have a ton of clothes, like so many of my clothes from when I was punk, so many of my clothes from when I was skinny, and I think it's great I have all these things again. So yeah, that's kind of just like my whole week. I haven't been updating that much because I've just been like engrossed in all of these things that like make me so happy, and it's cool to see some of these clothes, but that is what coincides with my Depop. As much as I love some of these clothes, I am a bigger girl now, and I don't mean like mature, I just mean like not that tiny anymore. As I said in my my birth control video, I gained 30 pounds this year, and just some of these clothes aren't gonna fit as much as I love them. So on to you, a better home, and so on and so forth. So I got this question on Instagram direct message from a really nice girl. How did you tell your parents that you didn't want to continue going to college? And my answer to this is kind of gray, because as some of you may know, if you've been watching 5FactFriday for a while now, I've dropped out of school like 4 or 5 different times. I go to college and then stop, and then go to school and then stop very, very often. I was actually looking at colleges a couple weeks ago and had to like talk myself out of it. I love education, I love learning, I love sitting in a classroom, I love doing homework, I love sitting on the computer, like I love this stuff. But my realization came to me when I lived at my old house with all of my old roommates, who were all of my old roommates were so intellectual and so worldly and so capable, and other than the fact that I just like did not compare to them in worldliness, I also like realized that they sacrificed so much going to school to do exactly what they loved, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily pay your bills. My other roommate, he went on to get his master's in theology, and my other roommate, she had her degree in English, and she went on to become a farmer. And just living with them, I knew that they were some of the brightest people I had ever met, but they decided to take passion and not money. And I thought that that was great and inspiring, and at the same time I was like, I go to school for something that's my passion. I necessarily know at the end of the day that it's going to pay my bills. And I come from a family where, to say it in a couple words, I need to make money, and I need to know that I can support myself, because I only have me to fall back on, like financially. So I decided that I wanted to like make money, and that's when I decided to go to beauty school. How did I tell my parents this? My parents have never really expected me to follow a path that someone else has laid for me. Like, I was the first one in our family to go to school. There was no bar set for me. There was no path for me to follow. No older sibling who did everything right. I'm the oldest, and it was kind of up to me. And my parents tell me that they're proud of me all the time. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about my grandmom, but my grandmom, like, if I'm like, hey grandmom, I just walked to the post office and I mailed 5 things, she'll be like, yes. Or like, hey, I bought stamps today. She'll be like, that's really good to have stamps. I just think that you don't always necessarily have to better yourself by going to school. And it's funny because John and my school is in University City, and I guess last night was like rush week, or I don't know anything about that stuff, Greek things, but we had to drive through all the fraternity and sorority houses. They're all in a row. And the first thing in my mind was like, what about the little old lady who lives next door, and they have like all these strobe lights and loud music and everything. And we drove through, and all the girls were like falling over each other, and all the guys had like sweatbands, but it was like kind of chilly last night, no shirt, and it's like 10 o'clock at night outside, and all the police have to like watch them because something bad's gonna happen. Like, we were driving through just like, what's the big deal? Like, we're not missing anything not going to school, and this is an Ivy League school. Like, yeah, party, that's cool, but like, my mom doesn't expect me to go to school and take off my shirt and stuff like that and wear a sweatband. Like, that the images of college for me and for John and my mom, they're not scholarly. And I think if you continue to better yourself and you continue to do things that are good and keep you sustained, like, if you're gonna drop out of college, tell your parents how you're gonna keep afloat. Tell your parents, I'm gonna drop out of college, but I have a job interview with blah blah blah. Or I'm gonna drop out of college, but I plan to move to a different city and try there, or anything like that. I say keep building yourself and keep becoming better. And in 2015, becoming better is not going to school. And I'll say that a million times. Like, it's not going to school. It's not joining that sorority with the sweatband and everything. Like, I don't see that being the best me. And tell your parents that going to school isn't what it was 20 years ago. It's not like staying up all night and studying. It's what the movies made it out to be. It's all these different, like, gotta party hard, and the one sorority house was sponsored by Monster. Like, I just don't think that college is necessarily an academic realm anymore, and I don't think everyone can thrive there. If you can thrive doing something else, do it. I mean, John is a really successful carpenter, and I was a really successful barista for the longest time. Like, my parents never expected me to go back to school for beauty school, just because, like, as a barista, I was still proud, and I was still always learning and looking up latte art on YouTube and getting food safety certified. Like, academics is not the only thing you can excel in. And I say that to everybody. Like, even when my brother graduated from high school, there was no, like, college talk. No one expects him to go to college, and I think that that's great, and I hope that, like, he's savvy enough to kind of, I hope that he takes a little bit of my savvy and does not waste all his time going to school so many times, so many loans, so much debt. And school is not a guarantee, but hairdressing is a guarantee. Carpentry is a guarantee. Yeah, someone can smash up my hands, but what else would I do with that? Anyway, I hope some of this made sense. That took so long. Tell all your parents that stuff. But even in Philadelphia, I meet so many young moguls, so many kids who, like, I don't know, develop, like, clothing brands overnight and make beats and all these things. Like, put yourself in a savvy crowd. Do you ever look in the mirror and gasp that your ears are no longer stretched? No, I don't, ever. The only thing I ever experience maybe is, like, some sort of envy whenever I see, like, a cute person who has, like, stretched earlobes and they're modified and they're gorgeous and they're doing their own thing. And sometimes I feel like I'm in a situation where being modified, like, gives me credentials and, like, makes me like a source or, like, a valuable person, or gives me some sort of authority in a situation. Like, oh, her ears are stretched, listen to what she has to say. And although, like, sometimes in the back of my mind I'm like, me now is like, I don't need to have stretched ears to know what I'm talking about, or, like, anything like that. And it kind of goes to, like, when I had my earlobes scalpeled, I was showing a lot of pictures of the healing process, And people will comment all the time trying to tell me something like, your ears aren't supposed to bleed like that. I'm like, really? Because I got it done an hour ago. Stuff like that. People always want to tell me. People always want to know a little more than you, even like this much more than you. And there are times when, like, I know if I had stretched ears, I would be considered a modified person. But I'm over that. And I really need to, like, disassociate myself with that kind of world, that cool guy world. But my best friend and her boyfriend both have their ears stretched, and sometimes, like, I relate to them the most. And when we're all together, John is the odd man out because he doesn't have any tattoos or whatever, and I, like, scoot up next to them and I'm like, fam. But and their ears are stretched and they're tattooed and they're great and my favorite people, but most of the time I'm alone and I'm with John, and I never remember that my ears are anything. And sometimes I experience, like, envy around other people. And I also follow, like, a ton of, like, plug blogs, so I'll see really cute jewelry and be like, oh. And, like, when I got all that stuff from my old house, I had a ton of plugs, like, heartbreaking amounts. They're gonna go in my Depop, but I wish I could have worn some of those one last time. And here's my favorite question for the day, and I tried to, like, pre-think about this so I could answer it the right way, and I just couldn't, so I'm gonna right off the top here. Is there a polite or preferred way for people to approach you about your tattoos? I like this question, and I kind of was thinking, so this kind of relates to something I saw the other day, and I put it on my Tumblr, if you guys read my Tumblr at all, and it was just like a reblog of a tweet, and it really reminded me of myself. And it says, women reserve the right to not be interested. They don't owe you attention or time. Quote, I approached her respectfully. I came to her like a gentleman. I wasn't rude when I walked up. Doesn't matter, she wasn't interested. When I saw that, it really resonated with me, and I related because I'll be on the train and I'll have my earphones in and people will be like, Miss. And you always take your earphones out because you're like, what if I drop my wallet? Like, what if they're gonna tell me something I need to know? And they never, ever do. They're always like, where'd you get that tattoo? I'm like, which tattoo? Which one? Which one? That one? Which one? And then they're like, whoa! Whoa, lady, I was asking you a nice question. And I'm like, I was listening to a nice song. So there are times when I can go from, like, 0 to 60 because someone wants to talk to me about my tattoos, because, like that tweet said, I don't always want to. And even if you approach me the nicest way, like, miss, what if I'm on the phone? And sometimes I am. And there was one time where there was this group of kind of older men, and they were walking towards me, and you know, when it's like school age kids, my age kids, you kind of like take a breath because you're waiting. Like, these guys, didn't even expect it, and I was like holding my phone out like this, like kind of walking around holding my phone. These 3 men stopped me, and I had my thigh tattoo, and they said, Miss, can you show my friend the rest of your tattoo? And I was like, no, I can't. He was like, excuse me, miss, I was just talking about it, and can you show him the rest of your tattoo? And I was like, I am not the subject of your conversation that you are having. I don't know you. I don't care about your conversation, and you don't need to prove a point. You don't need to see the rest of my tattoo. What if the point he was trying to make were like, kids these days are so fucking crazy. Show them your legs, sweetheart. Let us see. Fuck off. I don't care if you are nice, well-dressed, an adult, a dad, whoever. No. There are very few situations where I will accept being spoken to about my tattoos by strangers. Very few, like 2. And it's usually if someone else also has tattoos and they approach me and ask me a question, I'll listen. But even if they're a crazy person, probably not. And by crazy person, I just mean like if they jump out from behind a trash can, no. No way. If I hear that someone's trying to be condescending or like prove something with my tattoos, absolutely not. Even if it's at school, even if it's a classmate, even if it's my mom. Like there are times when I will not pick up a conversation about my tattoos when I can just feel that it's not good. What's a polite way to ask me about my tattoos? I really don't know how to answer that because I have been in too many situations where my tattoos have been used to like slander me from strangers that there's almost no ideal situation for someone to approach me. If I'm waiting in line at the coffee shop and someone's like, oh, that's a really beautiful tattoo, I'll probably, thank you. And not to be sexist, but from a woman. If a man is talking to me about my tattoos, I'm not interested. I don't want to talk to you. If it's someone I see a couple times a day, like if the girls at the coffee shop, they just started talking to me about my tattoos and they also have tattoos. So like that was a conversation I was willing to have. At the tattoo convention though, I'm not talking to anybody at all. I don't want to talk to anybody about tattoos at all. And I'll go to the tattoo convention to see a nice tattoo artist who I love and we're friends and they just happen to be in Philly and I'm just excited. And people want to take pictures with me and they want to take pictures of my tattoo and my revealed skin. And I remember when I got tattooed by Ashley Love, I had to like lay in a weird position and people wanted to lean and try to get a picture from up my skirt. Like, no. There have been too many times where I have felt scrutiny because of my tattoos, and strangers are not allowed to talk to me about them. And if you are at home wondering like, oh, like how can I approach strangers about the tattoos? Like how can I do it? Gently, like you're trying to look at a bunny, like a wild one, and you're like, oh, there's one. And you can only get this close because it'll hear you. That's how you can talk to me about tattoos. I don't have any better advice. It's not a conversation I like to have. Too many times I've been sexualized. Too many times I have been criticized and made out to be the bad guy, and they're just not conversations I want to have anymore. Unless it's like I can't think of a time. And I'm not trying to sound like a bad guy. I really know how this is coming off, but like I've said before in my other videos, my tattoos are so personal and private to me, and they're not a conversation piece, and that's just how it is. Like, just am not always in the mood to talk about my tattoos. If I'm going to work, I mean, if I'm on the train, I'm trying to go somewhere. I didn't go on the train to pick up guys. And that's where I feel like a lot of those conversations go to. You have tattoos? Do you like pain? Are you kinky? No. But I'll say this. If I can feel out a person's intentions are innocent or innocent curious, I would probably like maybe have a conversation with them. But unless they're like already heavily tattooed and like kind of asking me a question, like when I worked at the coffee shop, one time this kid came up and he was fully clothed. Like if he had tattoos, I don't really know. But he seemed harmless and like a little handsome. So when he was like, oh, does Mark Cross do your tattoos? I was like, yeah. Who are you? Like I was interested, and that was a conversation I was willing to have because that was somebody who could identify one of my tattoos and like relate to me. But tourist A with sunglasses attached to the strings holding a camera who asks if they can take a picture of my tattoos. No! I had a lady once that was like, sweetie, can you lift your sleeve a little bit? My husband's trying to read your tattoo. And I was like, no. She was like, I don't know you. And I'm not a spectacle. If you want to give me $10, maybe. But I am not a spectacle to the public. I am not here to entertain tourists. I'm not here to get guys going. I have tattoos because they're important to me and they mean something really strong to me. And I will continue to be tattooed, and it has nothing to do with the people outside of this room. Quicken out. But don't let that come off the wrong way. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. I used to have a friend who had a scar on her chest, and she said that people would ask her about the scar on her chest every single day, everywhere she went. And I know that those aren't comparable, but just the invitation to the public to bother you about something of your physical appearance is insane. And I know people like John don't get it because he's pretty normal looking and handsome and put together. People aren't really bothering him. But if I had a bump on his head, I'm sure people would ask him all the time, what's the bump on your head? Who are you? I'm just some guy who looked over at you and I have no self-control, so I'm asking you about the bump on your head. So I'm not trying to be aggressive about it, but it happens to me so much and it interrupts my life so much that there is not a preferred way that people approach me about my tattoos. I prefer people to leave me alone all the time. And I can't really convey that even though I'm on the train like this. People still ask me questions and I'm trying to look meaner. Doesn't work. But yeah, this is 5Fact Friday. Thank you for all the kind words. I love you guys. Sorry this is coming out a little late. I can tell you next week. I was kind of just like feeling weird and hurt and whatever, but I'll keep you guys informed. And I'm gonna try to vlog while the Pope is here because I think it's gonna be absolutely crazy. Like, insane that they're shutting down the city. Let me know if you're interested in that. Also, hit me up on Snapchat. I'm trying to win all the Snapchat trophies, so if I send you something weird, just go with it. Love you guys so much, and bye!